So let me ask another question. This is going to piggyback on the first one or the second question, but why is content so important? Like, I love all that H1, all that formatting stuff, but why, like, what sets content apart and why is it so important to SEO?
Yeah. Well, I think what you got to understand is, how does Google work? What does Google value? And a lot of times people will say, you know what, Google hates SEO companies. Well, I'm sure they don't love them, because I'm sure that we take a couple pennies off the table. But the reality is that Google is way, way, way more afraid of losing market share to Bing than they are about the pennies that SEO companies take for them. So what they try to do is they try to say, hey, you know what? We want you to rank organically, because the better results we have in organic, the more people come to Google versus Bing. And then it's a better chance you're going to create ads.
Okay.
So what they do is that when they created Google, they said, you know what? People that are thought leaders are going to communicate in these formats. And it's pretty funny, because I read the book on Google. It's called The Google Story. So much of how Google ranks is literally comes down to the same way college term papers were good, right? You wrote a really great, compelling piece of content, but then you also had You're laughing. I guess you didn't write very good content in college.
No, I'm laughing because I'm writing one right now, and I'm just like thinking, all I thought about was like the professor throwing it down the stairs, and where it lands, you get graded. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where I thought you were going with that one.
Well, the way they were describing it in Google is like, you write really compelling content. There's levels of readability. There's content length. There's a whole bunch of factors. But one of the main things that they have is, when you write a college term paper, if you're going to quote somebody, you have to cite them at the bottom. You can't just plagiarize their stuff. Backlinks are the same thing as like citing an author.
Okay.
The thing is, though, is that if you get cited enough from other websites, you know what I mean?
Trust factor.
Google says that person's trustworthy, is an authority. So when I write content, I'm trying to write content so compelling that I'm going to get cited in other people's work.
Okay.
That means you got to bring a lot of value. You got to bring a lot of data. You got to cut through the BS. And so there's a lot of stuff with that, but there's also a technical side. So let me kind of walk you through that. I'm going to share my screen real quick.
Okay, sure.
So with that, what you're looking at here is called structured content. So in the beginning of SEO, you could just write one really large page of content on your website, get a bunch of backlinks or something like that. The way Google favors it now is to basically create families of content, that thought leaders aren't just one-hit wonders. They consistently communicate. They're very authoritative. And they realize that if a subject matter is worthy enough, essentially what's going to happen is, you know what, content is going to be supporting other pieces of content. And so we use a model, we call it a hub and spoke model. You know, HubSpot calls it pillar pages. I think Brian Dean calls it pillar pages as well. But what we're talking about is the idea or the concept of writing one really, really great piece of content, 1,500, 2,000 words minimum. We're going to make it chock full of data and stuff like that. But what we're also going to do is know that when I wrote that page, that the keywords on that page also have other ancillary keywords that also help flesh out that story. So we're going to create other pages on the website that point back to that page. And so we say it's a hub and spoke. It's like the hub's in the middle. And then I might have blogs. I might have infographics. I might have videos. All of that. It's like kind of like all roads lead to Rome. So when you develop an editorial calendar, if you don't know how to structure your content, it's not only writing great content, it's how you structure it. There's some science in that.
Okay.
We inherit websites from clients that had a previous vendor, and we got to go back and we got to do surgery to get the pages in alignment, because in a very weird way, Google's a supercomputer, but they reward the people that don't make them think.
Got it.